haven't written in such a long time, which is one thing that has been frustrating me. But this one story kept like popping into my head, but it's more like just an idea. It wasn't an entire story. People were like, "Yeah, but just read it, like write it down, and then you will see where it's going." And I was like, "No, I am not Sarah. I am not a pantser, okay? I will have a plot line, okay? I will have my sticky notes up on my wall. Thank you very much." I think what kind of stopped me from starting to write it was because I didn't understand it. It's paranormal, so it's different. It has different rules. So this weekend I sat down and I was like, Madeleine, you are going to do like a research, like what is this trope, what is this like genre type of vibes. And I'm so excited because my whole wall is covered in sticky notes right now, because I was like writing everything down about like what is paranormal, what is like this specific like magic realism that I want to have. And I started like doing op decks for my characters, so I feel very good about myself right now.
I'm happy for you. It's so great to break through that barrier and to realize what it is that's holding you back. And I think sometimes as a writer, I get bogged down in I should just be able to do this instead of letting my brain like get through that barrier and figure it out.
100%. Now the challenge is to sit actually down and start writing. But you know what? It's fun. That's what chocolate is for, to motivate me.
So today I went with something a little bit different. Instead of a hot drink or a tea or a juice, I made myself a blueberry milkshake.
Good. Look at you. I literally do not have anything of that. I have my trusted tea with me. Thank you very much. My passion fruit tea with me.
Yay!
Doesn't smell as delicious as I assume a blueberry milkshake would, but you know what? It's fine. Alrighty. Are we ready for this episode?
We're ready.
Hi, let's go. Welcome to Tea and Tales. We are so happy to have you here with us. I'm Madeleine Nidell.
And I'm Sarah Sampson. We would especially like to thank Rachel, Michelle, and Talien Engelbrock for joining us each week. This week, we have an exciting episode all about libraries and library programs. To join us is librarian and author Danielle Ellison. Hi, Danielle. Welcome to Tea and Tales.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We are so excited to have you here. So you are an author, but you are also a librarian. You've been a librarian for 6 years, right?
Yeah, I've worked in the library system for 7 and some change, and I officially have been a librarian for 6.
So we talk a lot on our podcast about if you're looking for help finding comps or anything like that, go to a librarian. They're going to help you every single time. Let's talk a little bit before we get into our topic of the day about your books. So what do you write and how can we find you?
All of my books are available, I assume, on all the platforms. For sure on Amazon. Most libraries have them. They're all in digital format for the most part. So wherever you are, you could probably find one. The last one came out almost a decade ago, so it's been quite a while. I was writing young adult. All the books are young adult. I have some fantasy and some contemporary, and all of them have romance. And then there's one that I self-published called Days Like This that is a new adult that has a little bit of steamy sections in it, but I still call it YA because they were 19, so I felt like they were still at that beginning stage.
First of all, to be a librarian is like the best thing ever because you can literally do your own comps. And you can also read books for free. That is the life, honestly. If we had better libraries in South Africa, I would have definitely considered being a librarian. Though I probably wouldn't get to do my job because I'll be reading all the time. Be like, sorry, you are in the middle of my chapter, sir. Like, can you calm down?
Audiobooks, best friend. It's all I do sometimes.
Oh my god. So actually, now that I'm thinking about this, like it is the best place for you to do like book launches and stuff like that. You could probably do a book launch like in a library, can't you?
Like a book launch? Yeah, you can do a book launch in a library. Most people choose bookstores because they want to sell books. But we do have, I have a program coming up next month where 2 authors are coming to talk about their books and a bookstore is coming to sell the books for them. So yeah, if you have a local library that you as a you're debuting or you have a book coming out and you want to celebrate, they would probably love to host you.
That is so cool. And I'm so jealous. But you know what? That is fine. So, kind of what got you into writing? What sparked that love for writing for you?
So I have been writing for as long as I can remember. I have vivid memories of being a little kid in like second and third grade, especially third grade, writing mostly during math class. And I would like make up stories. And I was always very creative. My family has told stories. I've always just been imagining in my own head. I had like reoccurring vivid dreams as a kid. You know how you'd have that dream and every night you'd get like another minute further. And I just always had stories in my head. I think I was really kind of lonely as a kid. I had a very large family and I kind of always felt lost in it, but books were the one place where I always found myself, and stories and TV shows and movies. And I just naturally from there just really embraced writing, and it's always been part of me, even if I didn't want it to be sometimes.
I totally can relate to a lot of that. The dreams that turn into books are some of my favorite books that I've written. So what made you change from being the writer to deciding, hey, I'd really like to work at libraries?
I have gone through a journey of getting to libraries. I grew up in rural West Virginia in a really small town. We had a library. I went there one time to my memory and I checked out books about the musical artist Selena because I had to write a project about her, a biography, but we never took the books back. And so then I spent literally the next like 10 years of my life in shame because I never returned these books and I was so terrified to ever go to the library. As a high schooler before I went to college, I like dropped them in the book slot. They were probably like 15 years old at that point. It was so funny. So I didn't really have libraries. We had scholastic book fairs and they used to send those mailers to school every year and you could like circle and order things. That was where I got a lot of my books. And my grandma, I was reading V.C. Andrews in like 5th grade because that's what she was reading. So I've just always been a reader and a writer, and libraries less so. But as I grew and I got involved in writing and publishing led me into editing. I spent many years as an editor for a small press. I did book festivals. I worked at indie bookstores, and kind of like along the path, everything just kind of led me to libraries. I have 2 master's degrees and one is in event planning. And through that, I got to run a book festival with libraries attached to it. It just kind of, I was like, oh, I could work in a library. I could read books. I could be around authors. I could be around readers, and I can plan events. This is the best. I want to do this. So it's definitely been a process. I didn't ever think I would be a librarian. I asked my mom actually like last month, why did no one ever say you should be a librarian? And she's like, well, they were boring. My job is so not boring. So her perception of what it was when I was a kid, like no one ever said be a librarian, but I would like organize my books as like for fun as a kid. And I would like rearrange my bookshelves and like reorganize them in different ways. So it was always meant to be, I think.
Well, can I just say, I didn't really grow up with libraries. We had like libraries at school, but you didn't really consider it a library since like your second grade like teacher was the teacher that was like in charge of the library. So you're just like, okay, I'll just take this Sweet Valley High, thank you very much, and then you move on with your life. And we do have, I would say, government libraries, but they're not like the best of like quality or in their best state. And so I never honestly even thought about librarians or what contribution they have to the community. And I only started realizing it when I went to America, and I actually went to American libraries, and I was like, oh my, what is this world I'm walking into? Why is everything so neat? And all these new books, I'm like, what? None of them are like from 1992? I'm like, I was so amazed. As a librarian, what value do you see libraries have in communities?
Huge. I wrote my like senior thesis on this topic on like community outreach. So if I go on a tangent, reel me back in. I think libraries at their core, they are community. I think libraries should be the connector between you as a person and all the things that you have available to you, not just in the library, but let's say you have a kid or a baby and you need more diapers and you don't have money. Very real life situation. Where can I go? I want your first thought to be, oh, someone at the library can help me. And then you come here and we can connect you with that resource. Or I can't pay my bills and I'm going to get evicted tomorrow. How can I get help? Come to the library. We can't help you, but we can connect you with someone who can help you. And that is what I think the library is supposed to function as. Yes, it's educational. Yes, it's where you come to get books. Yes, you can come here and connect and do fun programs and do events and things that you know can't do on your own or at home. But at its core, I think that's what we should be, is the center of a community. Some libraries do that really well, others don't. Resources are hard, time is hard, staff is hard. Working with the public is a really difficult job, especially because libraries are the only free space that people can come to anymore. And so I think our role is, if we are this and this is what we're supposed to be, how do we best reach people? And that's like one of my favorite questions that we're always answering, and it's constantly changing from library to library and day to day. But that's what I think that libraries are supposed to be. And we should be in your schools. Your teachers should be sending you to this program that the library has. If you are experiencing homelessness and you have nowhere to go, you should know that you can come here and be welcomed. Or sometimes we have a mobile food truck that will come and like bring produce for people that live in food deserts that don't have like grocery stores or fresh produce. Like, we have that program that we partner with. Like, you need some greens because you haven't had vegetables in a month, I can come to the library and get that. So I think that's like really a beautiful, like, we are the community, I think.
I feel like when I was a kid, we had the summer reading program and then we had the fall festival, and that was pretty much it with my local library. But now, as I'm older and I'm seeing more of the things that the libraries are doing, like the longest table activities where you come and just chat about topics. They're helping kids get lunches during the summertime when school's out. So many different programs beyond the reading. And one of the things that I hope that these programs do is bring those kids into being comfortable in the library, to continue to use it for more things like their research. Go ask a librarian is like my mantra. Just go ask the librarian. In your opinion, what sort of programs have you seen libraries do that help children to become comfortable into adulthood with the library that way?
That's such a great question. A lot of librarians do one thing. Some librarians work with adults, some work with teens, some work with kids. I get to work with everybody. During the summer, we have a teen volunteer program where teens kind of help us run summer reading. So I'm in charge of the teens. I do a toddler story time. I do a thing called Rocket Readers, where we bring in adult volunteers to read one-on-one with students. And the students actually read to them, and the adults are just there to help. And then I also get to do adult programming. So I feel like I'm lucky and I get to do a little bit of everything. And I think the core of your question is like, what we're doing with your 2-year-old is hopefully showing them that the library is a fun place where they can come and do stuff, and they keep coming until they're old. Get them in young and keep them here. And I think you do that by, libraries are constantly evolving. Like you said, when you were young, we had these two things. Libraries are so different. Even pre-COVID libraries and post-COVID libraries, they do not operate the same way. My job is totally different. The things we experience are different. There has been a shift toward programming at most libraries because people will come to fun things, especially if they're free. And that will get them in the door, where they might get to meet someone like me who encourages them or connects with them over a book or over a program, or, you know, over a conversation like this that we casually have, or a song I taught at story time 2 days ago. You get them in young, you show them it's fun. We have a rule at our library, or a golden rule kind of, where we want to know every kid's name. We have a lot of neighborhood kids that have nowhere to go after school. And so they come to the library and they'll sit in here for 2 hours, sometimes 5 hours, sometimes their house will close, especially in the summer, they don't have anywhere to go. So we want to know their names. We want to know them. So when they come in, we can be like, hey, Carson, hey, Sabrina, hey, Sarah. That way they know that there's someone here who cares enough to know their name. From just doing that, we've been able to like connect with kids and help them with family situations or things that they're going through. We have to evolve as libraries the same way that we evolve as people. And that's why I think, going back to our previous answer about community, the library didn't used to be that. But libraries have been changing since they were created. If you look at like the history of libraries and why they exist and all the things they've done, like, you know, the times when librarians delivered books on horseback to people's houses, and like, we just have always tried to be relevant. And I think that that changes as culture changes. But hopefully, if we're doing our job right and we're connecting with you, then you're going to keep coming and you're going to bring your kid and your grandkid one day. You have to build those relationships and provide excellent service. So if you come to the library and everyone's rude to you, you are not going to come back.
That's very true, because I must admit, I've always seen as a librarian is like the meanest teacher you have teaching math to you. And so every time I would walk into a library, I would just be like, don't look at me, don't look at me. Like, I'm just like, I don't need any help. I'm fine. Like, I will help myself. Thank you very much. And so, but I mean, that was me coming in as an adult. So I think it is so important, as you say, for to get children in from a young age, because then they're used to it. It's like taking them to McDonald's from a young age. When they're older, they know what McDonald's is. It's not like a foreign subject to them or like a foreign food to them for them to eat. And especially with like kindness, because I think that is such an important element to have in your library to draw those kids in. And especially it's also very important when you can actually work with kids, because not everybody can work with kids. And I think it's also why you said like different people in the library have different sections that they kind of flourish in.
I've been in the library for 7 years and I've worked my way up to where I am, and I went to library school. So I think earlier I answered the question wrong, because I've only been a librarian by title for like 3.5 years, but I've been in that role since I started. I entry level at 6 months, where you shelve books, and then I got promoted. And so I've been in this role at multiple libraries now. If you had told me 6 years ago that one day I was going to lead a toddler story time, I would have like laughed at you. I had zero interest in doing story times. I like kids from a distance, but I never thought that I would be in this role. And then I had my own kid, and he's 3. We were like, we need more story times, because our story time, we had one and it was having like 100 people every week. So we were like, we need more. We need to expand. But our one children's librarian was like, I can't do it. And I was like, I do one for toddlers. I sing with my kid. I read him stories. I can do this. Now it's a little more involved than I ever dreamed it would be, but it brings me so much joy. 6 years ago, baby Danielle would have like laughed at you, and now I can't imagine not doing it. What a great job I have. I just get to do great stuff. And you gotta get what you put into it, and sometimes that means challenging yourself. So my challenge for you is next time you go into a library, librarians are just like big nerds. Some of us are introverted, some of us are extroverted, but all of us have some level of nerd. So you just got to go find your nerd. Maybe it's like the children's librarian. I don't want to stereotype, but children's librarians often dress the most fun and have like the funnest hair and wear the cutest clothes. Like, go find your children's librarian, or go ask someone for a recommendation. If you're like, I only love to read cowboy romances, can someone suggest me one? I bet you there's someone on staff who also loves to read cowboy romances, and they're going to go get that person and be like, yo, help her. So they're probably nice. I don't know about in South Africa. I've never been to a South African library, so I'm interested in knowing more about that. But there's a nerd in there somewhere for you who's just waiting to show you all the greatness of the library. So
I love how you've talked about libraries trying to stay relevant too, because I remember sometime in the early 2000s where the libraries were like, everything's going online, everything's going audiobook, our libraries are going to get shut down. And they've really stepped up, I think, everything since then, realizing they need to stay relevant. So how in the ebook, audiobook arena have libraries kept up with that kind of demand?
I was a bookseller in that time period. So I remember all the fear of, oh my gosh, ebooks are going to put us out of business. I worked at a Borders, rest in peace. And I worked at indie bookstores most of my life. And we always had that fear, especially when the boom of Kindles and e-readers came out, that, oh gosh, they're going to put us out of business. But I think that libraries, books withstand technology, because as many people as use technology on a daily basis, I see 10 people an hour that don't know how to do it. So it's not for everybody, but it does make items more accessible for everybody. And that's the great thing about ebooks and audiobooks. As far as how libraries keep up with that, I'm sure it varies. Like the library system where I work, we have a whole department that does all the book buying. I could message them and say, hey, I have an author visit that I talked about coming. We want to do this book for book club, so we're going to need 15 copies. Can someone do that? Sure. I'll email someone and they'll buy the books and they'll appear. It's great. I don't have to think about it. So that's not part of my job at this library, because I'm one of 20 branches. So there's a whole department that does that. I have worked at a smaller library before where I got to choose every year. I got a budget and they're like, here's your budget for the teen collection, buy the books, put in your order that you want for the whole year by this date. And so then you have to go through and figure out, what items you want in the collection, what formats you want them in. There's a lot of research involved in that. What are people reading? What's hot? What have you read that you think other people will like? So there's a lot of aspects that probably go into that decision. decision. We also allow people to make suggestions. Like there's a lot of audiobooks, for example, on like Audible that maybe the library doesn't use Audible. Our library uses Libby and Hoopla and Canopy. So there are things that are on Audible that we might not have. And I, as a reader, might want book 8 of the Zodiac Academy. And then I have to put in a request and say, hey, can you please buy this in an audiobook? And they might say yes because they can get it. And they might say no because it's an Audible exclusive and they don't have a way to get it. So there are some barriers still with that, especially with Amazon. But I think for the most part, at least at our branch, they're really receptive. Like if you want this, we're going to get it for you. Because if you're just one person, but you're probably not the only person. And for in library, obviously we have books here, but if we're doing like a special program or a display, we will sometimes like print out QR codes that will like link to read it on audio, and then they can just scan it and they can find those books. And we've done that before too. So we do find ways to try to incorporate e-resources because those are part of the library and they are just as important as a physical book.
In your library, do you get enough of the newer books in those digital formats for people to be able to read thoroughly all the new stuff?
Our library system is so excellent at books. I live in a very, like I said, my branch is one of 20. And we're in the Oklahoma City area. We have a lot of users. We have a really great team of people that buy all of our books that are on it. We might hear about a book a month before it comes out. People who are buying books are hearing about them a year or 2 years before they come out. Sometimes, like even as a bookseller, you're getting ARCs, advanced reader copies, a year or 2 years before. As a librarian, I can get advanced copies of audiobooks that I can just download and listen to, which is my life. It's my whole life besides work and kids. I already have things I could pre-order now that come out in 3 months. I think that's the furthest out that we can like put it on hold is 3 months. So my library system is very good at that because the team of people buying the books are very in tune with what readers like. And as I said earlier, always willing to add something if they can. I mentioned the Zodiac Academy books. I was listening to those on Libby through the library, and they had the full action with the sound effects, like the graphic audio book, which was so fun and overwhelming to listen to at first. But then they only had through book 4. And then I'm like, where's the rest? There's 9 books. I want them all. Well, they've only made 4 in graphic audio. So they're still releasing them. So if you want to read the book, you have to just read the regular audiobook, which, we have also or maybe we don't have it. We have to buy it or we have to look somewhere else. So I feel like, I don't know if that is answering your question or not, but I do think librarians or library staff or whoever's buying books, you have to know what's coming out. It could also be budgetary. Some, like our library has a very large budget for materials. Not every library has that. Resources are still a barrier. And that could be if it's a large system or a single city library or something. If you ever want to know specifically about your library, they should have it posted on their website about how they purchase items and what they do, or someone that you can contact to ask questions. I'm assuming 85% of people are going to be down to tell you how they do it because they can only do it because you pay for it. So most of those things should be transparent somewhere on their website.
That is really cool to learn these things because, well, can I just say, I only learned that there was something called an ebook when COVID hit, and I was like, they won't allow me to go to the library. I was like, that's a bit rude. And so then I discovered Libby, and I was just like, what is this magic all about? And so for me as a writer, it has been such a blessing to be able to read online because I travel a lot. So I don't necessarily have the space to always have a physical book with me. Libraries are so fantastic, as we've mentioned before, because librarians can help you with comps. Librarians can help you to promote your book or to get your book out there. If you are the author and you're like, hey, can you get more copies over here or something like that? We talk a lot about how libraries can help writers, but how can writers help libraries?
I love that question. I think writers help libraries by supporting libraries, by using your library, by checking out materials, if they're digital, if they're in person, by going to programs. If I know you and then you release a book, I'm going to be so thrilled for you. I'm going to want to help. I'm going to do everything in my power to get your book in front of more people because I know you, because you're a library user and you say hi to me when you come in, or we talk about my eyeshadow, whatever it is, you're going to stick out in my mind. It's a dual relationship, just like any relationship. Like, yes, the library can help you as a writer, but as a writer, you should also be using your library, even if it's just come here once a week and write. Like, there's so many ways you can use the library. So if you're not using it, why should I help you? I will help you even if you're not using it, but I'm definitely going to be more willing to help you if I know you. And also promoting it. There was recently a young adult author, Jessica Corey, had posted on her Instagram that she went to a protest at her library. They were trying to like ban books, and she went as a writer, and she was like, I don't support this. And they interviewed her because she was an author, and be a voice. We are facing so much turmoil in the US. I don't know what it's like in other countries, but our books are under attack. Our speech is under attack. Our words are under attack. And if I'm standing up for it as a librarian, you as a writer should also be standing up for it. So that's like another little way that you can support a library.
I love that, because before I moved to Spain, I was very involved with the libraries that I was around and volunteering for things and going to do things, being there for anything that I could. And I feel like us as writers know intrinsically that we love libraries and that they're good, but to remember that we can go to them, we can utilize them for anything in our career. And especially, I feel self-published authors can really utilize libraries, library resources. If an author is trying to network better with the library, get involved in volunteering and things with the library, how would they go about doing that?
Most libraries should have volunteer. I know our library has volunteer opportunities that are posted on our website. You just go, you look, you sign, you come in, you ask somebody. Volunteering at a library would vary based on the library and whatever restrictions they have. So if you're an author or a person who just loves the library and you want to get connected, the best way to do it is to look on their website and then to ask somebody who works at the branch that you're interested in volunteering at, because maybe they don't have anything, or maybe they've never had a volunteer and you'll be there first, or maybe they have a robust program that you don't know about. So definitely do some research or just ask. Specifically for like indie or self-pub authors, my answer, whether you're trad or self-pub, is still just get to know people and show up and be present and use your library. You need a place to write, you can go to a coffee shop. You could also come to the library. You can come to the library with the coffee that you bought at the coffee shop, so you're supporting two localities at the same time. I know I have run, and other libraries run, lots of writer meetups and writer groups and book talks and things like that. So find something that you can get connected in, that you can try, or have a whole critique group that all formed at the library. So they're just people that we randomly came across each other and wanted to do this thing together, and we've been together for 3 years. So you just never know what you're going to find by just being involved and asking questions. Or if there isn't a writer group, maybe you can help start one. Maybe you can work with a librarian to start something that you're missing, because not every librarian has a skill set to start a writers group, because really, if you're not a writer, it's kind of hard to lead, but you can still be a connector to other writers. So ask questions. Number one answer.
So as a librarian, I know you've mentioned that, you have different librarians in different places. Some are small towns, so they don't always have the capacity or the finances to be able to do all these events or do all these groups and things like that, while others have more help. So how much influence do you as a librarian have when you actually want to pitch an event? Or is that a completely different department in the library?
As a librarian and the events person, that's my part of my job. It's like the best part of my job, because I love books and I like helping people find books, but I love events. What led me here, that's what keeps me going, is programs. So it's probably different depending on where you work as a librarian, but it could vary. Even in our system, varies, like every branch kind of does it differently based on the management team and how they want to do things. There are libraries where everyone comes with their ideas and you pitch them and you say yes or no. Ours is really flexible here. We just get to plan whatever we want. We know our schedule and we know what our audience likes. People don't think about this, especially authors. If you're trying to get involved in a library or you want to do an event or a book launch or something, our library system has to schedule everything 3 months in advance. So it's April and I'm scheduling and planning for August and September right now. My summer is already planned. Hasn't started yet, but it's already planned. So we have to plan everything 90 days out. We can't add anything last minute to a calendar unless it's like an opportunity you can't live without and you can justify it 7 ways to Sunday. For us, we're already planning many, many months ahead, but I get to plan whenever I want. Sometimes we'll do it individually. Like for me, I have a set schedule. Every Monday I have Rocket Readers. Every Thursday I do my toddler story time. Those two things I do weekly, every single week without a break really. And then in my other days, I can plan fun things like I can bring in a speaker or an author event or do something hands-on or like arts and crafts or whatever it is that I want to do. But I'm always thinking many, many months ahead. Like one of my coworkers was talking about October today and I was like, October, it's April, but that's kind of where we are as we're thinking about fall. So that's something that not a lot of people know. But luckily I have the freedom to get to kind of do whatever calls to me. As long as I think people are going to come, I can try it, which is great because not everyone has that luxury.
I'm going to take a little bit of a shift. As I'm thinking about libraries, library programs, bringing children in, how have you seen these programs and things encourage children to increase in literacy and be able to excel in school, in their understanding of language and all of those areas as well?
Well, I love that. So I'm going to talk about my Rocket Readers program because I think it encapsulates so many examples of what a library could do and does do well. This has been around for longer than me, and hopefully it'll be around after me. It starts at 4:30. You sign up at the door, first come, first serve. If I have 8 volunteers, then 8 kids can read. If I got 10, then 10. If I have 4, then only 4 kids are reading. So every half hour or 20 minutes, if we have a large group or less volunteers. It's all run by volunteers, people who give their time every week and come to read with your kid. We do it ages 5 to 12 can come. We have a variety of books. You pick the book you want to read, you sit down with the volunteer, and you read to the volunteer. Now, through that, there are things that happen. Our volunteers, most of them, we've done a training about how to tutor. So sometimes we'll encounter a 5-year-old who maybe doesn't know how to read yet. So instead of reading with them, we're going to read to them, and we're going to do some alphabet games. Or they're a first grader and they can only read a little bit, so we're going to practice sight words with them. Or they're a 5th grader and they just need you there to help them say big words. Like you kind of get a variety. So we have to kind of be ready for that and whatever is coming. For us in our program, 90% of it are people who are learning how to speak English, that speak Spanish primarily, and their guardians don't speak any English. So they don't have adults at home who can help them read in English because they don't know how either. A lot of what we're doing is it's like reaffirming what they're learning, what they're doing at school, and trying to help guide them through it. We're not teachers. We're not trained professionals. We're just regular people who want to help you read. However, from that program, I've been running it for a year. And from that program, we've already gotten feedback. We try to encourage communication to teachers. So if a teacher has a kid that's struggling, they can reach out to us and hey, next time they come to Rocket Readers, can you help them with this? And that's been really positive to see. So we've never done that before. We're just kind of starting to try it out and see how it goes. But we've already had one kid whose teacher, the volunteer noticed these things were wrong. We reached out to the parent. We gave them a letter. They took it to the teacher. The teacher gave it back to us. And they're like, hey, he does struggle with X, Y, and Z. Can you please help him improve? And now that kid it's moved past that. He's learned that. And that's because we're able to provide that extra help at no cost to the parents. And even though we're not trained professionals, we're just sometimes kids just need another adult who's not mom or dad to do things with. And we're providing that. There are programs like that. And this is not a solo one. There's libraries around the country and probably the world who do similar programs and have probably a larger impact than even we do with our 30 kids a week on a good week. But you get to have that one-on-one time with them and you get to help them. And that's going to be something that when they're 12, and they can't come to Rocket Readers anymore, but they've come and they've learned and now they can be a teen volunteer. So hopefully their experience as Storytime led them to Rocket Readers, and the Rocket Readers led them to be a teen volunteer, and where they can learn job skills and experience and have something fun to do in the summer. Maybe they grow up like my coworker did and become a librarian because they were a teen volunteer here, because they came to kids programs. So that's a cool thing. You sometimes get to walk through life with them as they kind of grow. It's really rewarding. And obviously you don't know the impact that you're having until later down the road. But that's why I think it's really important that every interaction you have is intentional, especially at programs with kids, because you're shaping the future of not just the library, but of the whole entire world. And that's kind of overwhelming to think about, I guess, when I say it like that.
That is kind of brilliant. You're a superhero now.
Who doesn't want to be a superhero? But with books and words, just words. All we're doing is reading with you. I don't know what it's like in South Africa. If they can't read by 3rd grade, they're written off. They're written off as a kid that's not going to succeed, that's going to fail. A 3rd grader is probably 8, 9. So you're writing off a 9-year-old because they can't read fluently. That's scary. So yeah, anything that you can do in a library or at home to help your kid read or help other kids read, literacy is important. not just for like communication, but just for existence.
I think that's wonderful because I've very recently had quite a few conversations with people who are like, I want to help my kid do this. I don't know how. Like, I'm not trained to teach my kid these things. So how do I do it? And so to be able to say, hey, go ask a librarian.
Yes, because if you come to me, I'm going to tell you about Rocket Readers. Like, hey, you could check this out. If you come to Rocket Readers and you still need more help or you don't know how to find resources, I have an organization that I work with that taught us what we teach you, and that I can give you her card and you can contact her. Or you think maybe your kid has dyslexia and you don't know what to do. Her job is to help you advocate for your kid. So I can connect you to that. You don't know that when you're talking to me. You don't know what kind of connections I have, but I can help you even if I can't help you.
It's so true that you say, because in one of our previous episodes, we had a fantastic guest, Christine Nieser, and she is a speech pathologist, and she was talking about how important it is for children to read. And as you mentioned, sometimes children just need someone else who isn't their parent to help them to read and to help them to have fun with it, or like discover books they would necessarily discover. Because we've also talked to a literary agent, Adria Gates, and she said, a majority of times when you have children books out, who are the buyers? The parents, not the children. So parents would kind of decide what books the kids should be reading, whereas that kid might not even like the topic or the picture or the story or anything like that. And so then for a librarian to actually come in and be like, oh, but have you read this? Because you have interacted with so many children, because you have interacted with authors and with writers. So for people like me, who I do know we do have libraries, okay, I know that. I just don't go there because they're very outdated. And so for people who don't have local libraries, what advice would you give to them to encourage reading and writing in their community? Because, okay, side note though, I know that the lovely thing, I've seen those little like libraries that people put outside and you can like exchange books. But like for people in South Africa, we don't do that because things will be broken or things will be stolen. So that would not work for us.
Where, besides the library, where do you get books? Do you buy them?
We do a lot of like secondhand bookstores. You would call them thrift stores. We call them like hospices. And then also we have exclusive books, which is similar to your Barnes and Nobles. And so that's kind of where you would buy books. Also, I sign up for a lot of ARCs, which is where I get my other novels. And because we are podcasters, you also get like books from the guests that we have on. So that's how I personally get them.
Oh, if I was in your situation, I lived in a small town and we had a library, but I didn't go to it. I knew you could borrow books there, but like I didn't really know or think about going to the library. That was just not my first instinct ever. It was also small and kind of intimidating because it was like where people who had homelessness hung out, and just felt kind of creepy sometimes. It wasn't always very clean. We had a tiny branch next to my high school that was like the size of this room I'm in, which is like a children's story time room. So it was just kind of like, I don't want to be in here. This is like wooden and gross and old. The bookstore in our town closed when I was in 5th grade, and we didn't even have a bookstore after that until Borders. And then that only lasted for a few years, and then that was gone. So books were not something that I had regular access to besides at school. And I, like you, was very lucky. My teachers would give me books. Like they just knew I was this reader, and I would just always have someone giving me books to borrow. So if I was in that situation now and you have no access to a library or no access to books that you want at a library, can you talk to a librarian? Maybe you have an idea. Maybe you can host a community book swap and encourage everyone to like bring books that are in good condition. You could even set restrictions like must be released in the last 5. You could do a category like a fantasy book swap, a book swap, a romance book swap. Like maybe libraries are interested in that and they don't know that there's a demand for it or the resources for it. So then you're buying books, but you can share them, like a puzzle swap. We do those a lot at the library, but with books. Or there's a local bookstore that would be willing to host something like that. Or you can just have it like at a community park and do some advertising. It would be some work on your end. It wouldn't be easy, but it would give you access to something that you don't have access to right now. That's like my first, like, this is what I would do, because I'm an event planner and I'm like, I want to make it happen. If I don't have it, I'm going to find a way to get it. And not everyone is like that. So online, people do book swaps online. Maybe you can find people who read the same genre and start like a book club online, but instead of reading the same book at the same time, you're just like sending books back and forth to each other. That could be a resource that you could use to get books that you want. I feel for anyone who's in that situation because it sucks to not have access to materials or even updated materials. This is the librarian inside of me. I would also probably ask, I would want to know. I would want to talk to the library staff and be like, hey, are these budgetary restrictions? Maybe they don't have funding to buy new books. How can I help you? Can the community do a fundraiser to help get new books in? A lot of libraries will do, I don't know about in South Africa, but we'll do interlibrary loans. So if you want something and I don't have it, I can request it from a different library and they'll send it to me and you can borrow it. So is that a thing that your library system does that maybe you don't know about? So I would just start asking questions to people who have answers and then see maybe you can help them help you.
Those are great ideas, Danielle, and awesome answers. Thank you so much for joining us today and helping us to better understand libraries and our resources that are right there at our fingertips.
You're very welcome. And can I just say one thing? Even if you're not in a library, you should be. But if you're not and you don't have access to one, just read anything that you can read, especially if you're a writer. And that was part of our conversation is like writers and libraries. I have the privilege of working in a library and also being a writer and also being an editor, which I still do freelance. So being in a library gives me access to books. And I read them and I read different things and I try new things and I expand myself. And from doing that, I learn how to be a better writer. So if you're a writer trying to get connected to a library, but you don't know why, just start with that. Because if you want to be the best at your craft, you got to read the most, right? So, and libraries are a great place to do that.
Agreed. Model and I is doing the snapping. She agrees too. And if you as our listener would like to hear more from Danielle and to read her books, you can go to her website at Danielle-Ellison.com. We'll have that link in the show notes. And thank you again so much for joining us. We like to keep things short here on Tea and Tales. Get your fingers back on the keyboard and your pens back on paper.
And if you like what we are doing here, if you love the guests that we have on and the topics that we are talking about, then go follow us on Instagram, Threads, and Facebook at Tea and Tales Podcast, and on Twitter/X and TikTok at Podcast Details. And I'm pretty sure we are Podcast Details for YouTube as well. And then go to your purple icon on your device, go to Spotify and go like and go comment and go share. Like librarians would say, to be a part of a community and help us go up, up, up at some moment.
And join us next week where we are talking about children's book market with agent James McGowan. Happy writing!
Bye!